All right, here we go. Preparing to factor now. So we already learned how to factor out a GCF. We're trying to get to the point where we're going to factor even if it has a GCF or not. So to help prepare for that, we're going to look at this recording. Looks like today we have a catfish for our fish. When factoring, we will need to find two numbers that multiply to a number and add to a different number. That might sound a little confusing, but for example, what two numbers multiply to 18 and add to 8 is what? So we're trying to find two numbers that will multiply to 18 and add to 8. So to do this, I'm going to think, well, what are my factors of 18? Well, I know I have 1 times 18. But if I were to add those together, I would get 19, which is not 9. So what are some other factors? Well, we have 2 times 9. And when you add those together, you get 11. That doesn't add up to 9. We get 3 times 6. And when you add those together, we get 9. So 3 times 6 is 18, and 3 plus 6 is 9. So my two numbers are 3 and 6. Okay, so that's what we're doing. It should be pretty straightforward today. So let's look at some good examples. Okay, so factors, find two numbers that add to m. Oh, well that's not right. Let me hurry and fix that. That's supposed to be multiply to m. Probably going to be in every one of these slides. That's not good. Okay, so we're going to figure out what are our factors of 14 first. Let's list some. Well, we know 1 times 14. We know 2 times 7. Are there any other factors we can think of? I can't do a 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, so we just have these two. 1 plus 14 is 15, and 2 plus 7 is 9. So 2 and 7 would be my answers, because 2 times 7 is 14, and 2 plus 7 is 9. So it multiplies to m and it adds to s. Okay? So once again, change this to multiply. I apologize. Okay, so what are my factors of 6 that add up to negative 5? Now notice in this case, I have a negative, so let's see what we can do. Let's see, I have factors of 1 and 6. I also know I have a factor of negative 1 and negative 6, because when you multiply two negatives, we get a positive. So we also have 2 and 3. And we also have negative 2 times negative 3. So here are some factors. Now let's see which one of these add up to negative 5. 1 plus 6 is 7. Negative 1 plus negative 6 is negative 7. So neither of those. 2 plus 3 is 5. Negative 2 plus negative 3 is negative 5. So there we have our answer right here. Negative 2 times negative 3 multiplies to positive 6 and adds to negative 5. So negative 2 and negative 3 are my two numbers. Okay, let's see. So what two numbers, so once again this should say multiply. So what two numbers multiply to m and add to s? Well, let's see. So we're going to take negative 15. What are some factors? The fact that it's negative tells me that I have to have one positive and one negative. So let's say negative 1 and positive 15. How about positive 1 and negative 15? We also know that we have a positive 3 and a negative 5. We also have a negative 3 and positive 5. So let's run through and see if any of these add up to 2. Negative 1 plus 15 is 14. 1 plus negative 15 is negative 14. 3 plus negative 5 is negative 2. And negative 3 plus 5 is positive 2. Therefore, we have our answer right here. So we know that the two numbers, negative 3 and 5, multiply to negative 15 and add to positive 2. Alright, we have a couple more. So negative 24. Let's see, we got some factors that are going to be, we have to have one positive and one negative because the product is negative. So let's do negative 6 and 4. 4 and negative 6. Let's see, are either of these going to work? Oh, that's the same thing. Oops, silly me. So we got positive 6 and negative 4. So this equals negative 2 when we add, and this equals positive 2. So neither of those are going to work. So what are some other factors of negative 24? How about 8 and negative 3? Add those together, you get a positive 5. So I bet if I get a negative 8 and a positive 3, those multiplied together gets me negative 24. Add those together and I get a negative 5. So once again, there are my two numbers, negative 8 and positive 3. Okay? So you're just going through, trying to figure out what two numbers can multiply to m and add to s. Once again, I apologize for the directions. I should have double checked that. So there's a few more. Let's do this last one. What can multiply to 18 but add up to 19? A lot of students sometimes struggle with this, but if you think about it, 1 times 18 is 18, and if you added those together, you would get positive 19. So in this one, we have 1 and 18. Okay? And so that's how you take a number and you find its two factors that add up to a different number. And this is going to be very important for what we're going to be doing tomorrow when it comes to factoring.